I can't actually believe this. I noticed on that Steve Barrister's channel, I mean, I don't subscribe to him. I don't subscribe to anyone because I don't really think that YouTube should be spamming us with these terrible ads. In fact, if some of these barristers knew how people were suffering from these ads, they should be acting to get them banned permanently, right? But anyway, this Steve Barrister, his videos have been popping up. And apparently he does more on Substack and other platforms, and he's got his own followers called Lovelies or whatever, right? But he does have a YouTube channel, right? He's got 80,000 subscribers, which no one should take that with a pinch of salt, you know. If you've got 80,000 subscribers on YouTube, you should appreciate those, right? You should appreciate those subscribers. It's a hell of a lot of subscribers and a huge audience. You've got massive influence, right? I mean, when you get 100,000, I think you get one of those trophy things. I mean, I had 5,000 subscribers before my channel got suspended, my proper channel. And I wasn't really that bothered about getting subscribers because I didn't really want an audience. I just wanted to get the evidence up there so I could prove my investigation, right? So I'd got the evidence. But now that all this national crazy stuff's kicked off with the whole government and many channels and campaigns are all doing protests since after when I did my YouTube channel, it's quite actually important now. I realise, it's important to get messages out to people so people understand stuff, and there's a lot of misinformation, right? Now, I'd only seen a few of these videos of this Steve Barrister. He apparently writes for The Spectator. Now, on his posts, right, he said that, this is what he said 5 days ago, right? But this is a thing. He's meant to be a barrister and he's meant to be professional, right? He's a professional. And he's just slagged off Keir Starmer, two-tier Keir, for lying and not telling the truth, right? And I've just watched his question and answers video. He did that questions and answers video. He's uploaded it 20 hours ago, right? So he did it yesterday. But he didn't do it live on YouTube. Look, it wasn't live on YouTube. That was another video. So he's uploaded it from another platform, right? Now, he put in his post 5 days ago. This is what he announced on YouTube to his... is it 80,000? Yeah, it's 80... He's got 80,700 subscribers and 131 videos, right? He said to everyone, I'll be doing a questions and answers session live on Saturday at 7 p.m. Ask any legal question and I'll try and answer, right? So that's what he said. He said, feel free to ask here or live, right? Now, there's about 92 comments and 444 likes. Now, at the time, there was only 50 comments when I replied. So I put quite a few questions under there. He said it was meant to be about trial against jury, right? Because he was talking about, the trial against jury, not against jury, the trial by jury, right? The government are trying to remove it. So he wanted to incorporate that into his questions and answers, right? Now, so I put some really brilliant, good, awesome questions in here, right? And raised some good points to actually really help him. But also I raised some of those other questions about Parliament as well, see if we could answer them. Now, this is the thing. The time now is 5:15 on a Saturday, right? He said it was going to be Saturday, 7 p.m, right? Now, he already did it 20 hours ago, his question and answers, as far as I can see, right? But he did it on Substack with his Lovelies, right? And under this video, under this video, when he's talking, there was actually quite a few. There's 141 comments under there. There was at least a handful of people who were said, "Oh, I missed it," or they were expecting it later. And some of them didn't get the questions read out. Now, he clearly didn't come to YouTube, and he didn't go to his post here, and he didn't read the questions that people have put underneath, right? He didn't read them. He's saying leave questions here. I'll be on a Saturday at 7 p.m. Now, this is a professional barrister. This is someone who, like, when he says and does something, like, he's not going to be slack. He's going to do what he says he's going to do. If you rely on someone like this in court to represent you, yeah, and you're paying thousands of pounds, and not likely probably like, £5,000, probably, much more than that, right? Tens of thousands of pounds, right? So he's clearly not reliable. He didn't look at the questions under here. He didn't write them down, and he didn't answer them. In fact, he hasn't even come onto YouTube. He's just gone onto his Substack with his, whatever you call it, his lovelies, his core people. And in fact, in this video that he's got, he's even just said that, right? He's just stated that YouTube's a crazy place with all crazy people, and it's not really a proper community, and therefore, he's basically mugged us all off, right? And said, I'm not going to... But he doesn't think that YouTube is a legitimate community, right? But how else do you watch videos if you're not on YouTube? How can you listen to him, right? If you don't watch his videos, then he doesn't exist. How does he think that we hear him, So he's basically just totally rubbish YouTube, right? And so it's all full of crazy people, it's not a community. But, it's like he's got 80,700 subscribers, right? That is his audience. I mean, who else does he think that his audience is? That is his audience. That is his community. Maybe I should actually have a look at this Substacky thing that he's... I'm going to just type it in now on Google. I don't know whether I should pause it and... I don't know how long this is going to take. Steve Barrett, Barrister, Substack. Right, let's see if anything appears. Substack, Stephen Barrett. So click on it. Right, so he has got a Substack. He's got like a picture of a dog with a wig on and like a wet nose in a gold frame, and he's got his photo to the right-hand side. He's only got 6.7 thousand subscribers, right? He's only got 6.7 thousand subscribers. He's got 150 likes, and there are only 13 comments on there. Was live. So he went live on Substack. He only had 150 likes, but only 13 comments. But obviously, there must have been some kind of live chat that had more comments streaming live. So he's only got 6,000 people who are only going to listen to him. Now, so... if he doesn't have his 80,000 YouTube fans, he's literally got next to nothing, right? So what's the point in speaking and making videos? So to me, that seemed quite unprofessional. Now, he did in this video say that he doesn't give legal advice, but he's kind of like offering to give legal advice and ask questions, legal questions, which is a contradiction, right? He's also, he didn't, he was talking about writing to the king. I'm quite surprised. I don't think that he's a KC or a QC, King's Counsel or Queen's Counsel. But if he's just a regular barrister, he clearly... I'm very, very, very surprised that a barrister doesn't know how to write to the king, right? He didn't know how to properly, off the top of his head, write to the king. Now, I think that a barrister should know that it's addressed to the King's Most Excellent Majesty, and, you know, how it's formulated, the humble petition of, and then showeth, and then, you know, put the prayer at the end and so forth. It's not hard. People were asking how to do the template for it. The template for writing to Parliament and the King are usually in the, they're in the Manual of Procedure of Public Business of Parliament, which people wouldn't know that to find it in there. They're in the committee reports, things like some of the Erskine May books have it in. it's usually in books published by Parliament or reports by Parliament, but that information is easily out there on the internet. Petitions like that Lady Rhonda petition is a good example of how to write to the King by petition. I am surprised that a practicing barrister or a qualified barrister doesn't know how to write to the King. If there are any King's Counsel or Queen's Counsel who are meant to advise, they're meant to, King's Counsel and Queen's Counsel are meant to advise the monarch anyway on law, right? And the King's justices. If they didn't know how to petition the King, that would have serious alarm bells ringing to me, right? Now, he does rubbish Keir Starmer. I've done a really short clip of him when he kind of rubbishes two-tier Keir, which says that no one should believe anything that Keir Starmer says, right? There was one or two other things interesting in this video. They were talking about bringing charges against MPs. You can't prosecute MPs for parliamentary causes, but they were talking about possibly, people were knocking about the idea of doing them for treason if they remove the juries. They can be prosecuted in the King's Courts for treason, but you'll have to argue that because John Pym in the Short Parliament says that MPs and ministers can be prosecuted for treason in the courts, but the Article 9 of the 1688 Bill of Rights, the MPs are going to try and argue that they can't be prosecuted, but they only go on the free speech clause, and it's got nothing to do with free speech. It's actually illegal prosecutions by the King's Bench for matters decidable, debatable, only in Parliament. Now, if they commit an actual crime, there's an argument that they can be prosecuted, but if they're not breaking the law, then they're not actionable. You're meant to be able to prosecute the staff of Parliament for executing their offices amiss, but that executing your offices amiss, that can be treason. So I think they're just suing them for executing their offices amiss, for compensation and stuff like that. But it is debatable, right? I actually probably don't have the definitive answer for that, and I wanted to make a video about the Claim of Right Act when it says that you can't use protections for civil actions to protect against it. So that would actually mean the Parliament staff as well, right? But then later acts conjured up these definitions of protections being separate from privileges, being separate from parliamentary privileges, right? And I think that might have been a concoction in the 1700s to possibly try to maybe do some evasive manoeuvre from that Claim of Right Act. Could have actually been something to do with that. I think there's a connection. But they abolished arrest on civil process anyway. But I think the terminology, there's something going on in the 1700s with how they started to then conjure up all these other terms. But I think generally in the 1688 Bill of Rights, they don't use the word privilege anyway. It just says that you can't be prosecuted, which is even more explicit, really. So when it says you can't use protections to get out of civil debt, I don't know if it includes being delayed. So what they actually did, they enacted actual laws and legislation after 1688 in the 1700s, all to do with the Parliamentary Privileges Act, and it's to do with what type of court it is. And it's based around postponement. It's not like a protection to permanently protect you from it. It's more based around the principle of postponements. So I'm a little bit disappointed with this Steve Barrister. I mean, he's a nice character. He's a nice guy. He's obviously a caring person, and he cares about his community. But he just basically rubbished the YouTube community, which is his massive community, which is what gives him the audience, right? And then he's just said, oh yeah, I'm doing Substack and I care about my Substack people or whatever. But this is the thing. I mean, I've said that, I would never want a huge, massive channel because I wouldn't be able to reply to everyone personally and reply to all the comments, and I wouldn't feel like that I could give people proper attention if they wanted to interact. Therefore, it's kind of like a one-way thing, and that's why I've never really been interested in a big, huge channel. I've not pursued it, but at this time now, there are some important things that need to get out and important information that needs to be said. So, but it's not. It doesn't actually matter whether I tell them it, if it's me who says it, and that's why I've kind of like been contacting some other channels and trying to pass them on the information so they can get the information out there, right? But I thought this was a really good opportunity to try and maybe get in touch with this, because he was doing a question and answers, right? So I'm like, oh, I mean, if he's doing a question and answers, and like about 50 people had put questions or less, right? There was a good chance in getting him to answer. But it seems like he also said in his video that barristers specifically definitely only know on one area of law and not other areas of law. And he clearly doesn't really, he's not actually educated in parliamentary law, but I was actually trying to educate him in it, talk to him about it, and actually put some things to him so he could learn about it and so he might look into it. Particularly when it comes to the juries and Brian Leveson, because Brian Leveson, I don't think Brian Leveson was lawfully entitled to do the investigations because judges aren't meant to participate in politics. He did mention that in this video that he's just done. He did mention about judges not participating in politics. Well, they're actually not allowed to, because of the Constitutional Reform Act 2005 says they're not allowed to contribute to votes and proceedings, so they're actually not allowed to. So I kind of wish that he would have given some more attention to the questions. I don't know why he said like YouTube's all blah 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 all over the place, and there was, when I commented earlier on, there was only 50 replies, right? And he's got, let's have a look. He's got on his last video, he's only got 13 comments on the video that he put. I don't know whether that was the live. And on the actual live, there's 26 likes and 1 comment. Is this really it doesn't look to have a lot of, this can't be his main channel. Activity, posts, a recording from Steve Barrett's live video. He's not live. He didn't go live on YouTube. Only tyrants remove juries. 28th of November. A recording from Steve Barrett's live video. Did he actually go live on here or not? Was live. It looked like he did go live, but there were only 14 comments underneath. So I don't know how Substack works. While he is live, I don't know if there's like a stream of conversation which was on there, but you don't get that now because it's been and gone. Seems like that might be the case. 6.7 subscribers. So, like, I mean, he's definitely a person who's talking about his subscribers, specialized content for people who, you know, sign up and join and all this and that. So, but the bottom line is this. It's actually quite hard to get in touch with these guys. I mean, he said, oh, DM me. They don't, I mean, what else, you know, he's actually gone out of his way to ask people to put questions in his community posts, and he said, I'll come back here and, you know, look at them, and he hasn't. But then he's saying DM him. Well, that'll be on Substack, right? I've DM'd people like barristers and they don't get back to you, even ones who ask you to, and even ask you, you know, offer free legal advice, like that Scholar Gladiatoria and, you know, Alan Robertshaw. Now that we're getting to hear these barristers speak more freely, rather than, you know, you only see them if you go to court, or if you've got, you know, you don't have much money unless you go to a chambers and hire a barrister, you know, you don't get anywhere near them. And if you're in court, you're usually frightened, or you're at the receiving end of some kind of legal process and you're not in the best of moods, you know, to take notes, or, you know, you're not staring at them and, you know, making observations or anything, right? You know, well, the more they're exposed, the more these barristers are now exposed to the public, the more I'm finding, like, I don't think that all of them are as amazing as that people make out. And on the websites, they've got all this, oh, you know, like this barrister or that barrister is an extremely technical, complicated barrister, blah, blah, blah. You know, like some of the barristers who acted for the Attorney General, you know. And and they're not they're not as knowledgeable generally as they make out, and they do say things wrong. I'm not saying they do it on purpose, but they just don't know, or they make an error. I mean, Barrett admitted that he makes errors, right? He says, I'm only human, I make errors, but he says like he doesn't lie, so he doesn't do it on purpose. Well, that's like what Alan Robertshaw did the other day. He said it's 5 people for the Tumultuous Petition Act, but it's 20. I'm not saying that he lied, but it was an error and it needs correcting, right? Because that people are believing these people and taking it, they're taking it as expert. They're claiming they don't give legal advice, but really everything they say is on behalf and from a qualified expert, right? So if they put something out wrong there, it has consequences. So and he was saying that he went to a court on the train and it's quite difficult to get to, and then he was speaking to some people when they were waiting to go in, and they didn't agree with him. And then when he went in, and then the judge basically just said, the barrister's right. The barrister's clearly obviously right, and I agree with him, right? So like the judges respect these barristers. Obviously, if they can put together a good piece of work and their language is, their general English language is, good, right? Their English grammar and punctuation and their vocabulary, it conveys them as an intelligent, qualified person, and obviously they've got the legal license to practice. These judges automatically, I think, because they're a qualified barrister, they think that they must be right a lot of the time, or they give them the benefit of the doubt when they read their representations and usually side with them. Whereas it's disappointing when if you're just a member of the public and you're being charged with a crime and you're defending yourself and you actually do some good research and good study, and then the judge just basically says that you're talking a lot of tosh and you're wrong, like district judges do. And unfortunately, Barrett was defending district judges in this video that he just did. He was saying that, district judges have got better, but they didn't used to be good. They used to be terrible, but they're kind of good for family law and stuff like that. To my experience, district judges are terrible. They're absolutely terrible, and they do not seem to value intelligence unless you've got a qualification. But the thing is, if you've got a qualification and you write something, and then they know that it's got to be right because you're being regulated and you're liable for what you say to the bar standards and the SRA, so they're more, when you do write it and put it, they're going to automatically have more trust in you and more confidence in you than if you're not a qualified barrister. Like with Jeremy Johnson QC, that's how he managed to get that 6-page paper past Alistair McCreef, just based on his credentials, right? Not on the fact that he completely totally missed out after Bankruptcy Acts and other bases of law and all the other Parliamentary Privileges Acts and things like that, which completely were omitted, right? So and another thing that Barrett said, he actually, and that's the other clip that I put, he actually gave evidence. He's given evidence that barristers overcharge. He's actually admitted on live video, which is published, that barristers charge more money than what they should, and that they put extra costs or extra money to what they normally charge, that they inflate their prices or even lie about their prices and charges. So that's evidence. He's giving evidence that barristers are ripping people off, basically, right? So never mind Tutiakea lying. He's actually just said on a live published video to the public that barristers rip people off, right? Basically, he's just admitted it. That can be used in court. You can use that as evidence. A qualified barrister has seen and heard and had first-hand experience of barristers ripping people off. So if that doesn't ring alarm bells, I don't know what does, right? So this is ridiculous.